Welcome to On Set with Samantha. I'm Samantha Clarke, international photographer, lawyer, and educator. And this is where we go beyond the surface and get into what it really takes to create elevated weddings, events, and brands. Let's get into it. Welcome, Jen. Thanks for coming to chat with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Of course. Well, why don't we get started with you telling us how you got started and, just like a little bit about your experience that brought you to this point.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, I'm Jan Hill of J Hill Events, and I have been in business. This year marks 20 years in business, believe it or not. Thank you. Thank you. I would say, I don't know if this is a common story, but I fell in love with weddings and events literally as a child. I think I was around 4 years old when I was invited to be a flower girl in a wedding. And during the process of learning about being a flower girl and being in the wedding, I just fell in love with weddings and was obsessed. I told my mom I wanted a bride doll, and my dolls, my Barbies, would have weddings. I'd plan parties for them, and there's actually a photo of me with a bride doll, a typewriter, and a phone in my hand. Foreshadowing.
Wow.
But I love it. I actually watched Prince Charles and Princess Diana's wedding on my birthday with my mom. And really, I think that was the point that really sent me down that road of really wanting to know more about weddings and events. And so over the years, I learned more about etiquette. My mom had me in etiquette class in second grade. And over the years, I became that go-to person for my friends and family who were hosting events and parties, and they wanted new ideas, wanted to know how to address invitations or address certain situations that they were confused about. And I just loved it. And so planned a couple of weddings and events for friends and family, decided, I think I could look into this as a career. Working full-time in corporate America, I decided to go ahead and get certified as a planner to do events. And my first professional wedding as a business, 3 referrals came out of that. And so that was kind of the launch of my company.
Wow, that is an incredible story. And
Thank you.
We've worked together for so many years, and I did not know that.
Yes.
That is incredible.
Thank you.
So would you say weddings are your specialty, like the thing that you're really passionate about, or is it just events in general?
Honestly, it's events in general. Any kind of celebrations are special, but I will say weddings were the foundation of my business. I love weddings. I love creating a space and an event for couples that are ready to start their lives together. It's the joining of families, and it truly is a celebration. I just like to make sure that it's unique to them and not what everyone else is doing.
Yep.
But any kind of celebrations, I do galas, birthday parties, grand openings. I've done a couple of NBA All-Star parties, so it runs the gamut.
Wow. And how would you say most people find you? Like, would you say it's mostly referral based, like what you were saying with you got 3 people from that first one? Is that mainly how you get people?
It is. I would say primarily through referrals, but now social media for sure. Instagram, TikTok even. I think the last person that booked me found me on a TikTok top wedding planner list I had no idea about. So it's exciting. I do ask and try to track that. But definitely referrals have been primarily the source.
Okay. And so if someone's planning an event, when should they be reaching out to a planner? How early should they be reaching out?
As soon as they have the idea and the date in mind. Just because, time flies. And depending on the type of venue and the location, places book up, vendors book up. So as soon as you have an idea of what you're wanting to do, even if it's a concept, speaking with a planner will help you go down the right path and in a timely manner. Yes, events have been planned in a matter of weeks before, sometimes days. Is it ideal? Not for us, mostly. It can be done, but you just have to be flexible and have budget to do it.
Right. That part, the budget.
Yes.
That is actually a hot topic right now. I think people are stunned when they hear what some of the events that they see, what they actually cost. And then when they actually want to plan that event, they may not have the budget for that event.
Right.
How do you have that conversation with a couple so that they are not broken, but they, understand? How do you educate them? Like, what's that conversation like?
A lot of couples come to me in the very beginning and they really have no idea what things cost. And some of them haven't really done a lot of research. But then again, some of them have, but the research that they're finding isn't very accurate. So we're challenged with that and letting them know, hey, please don't get this wrong. What you have budgeted is a good amount of money. Is it going to get you exactly what you see on Pinterest or Instagram? Not necessarily. If you have 200 people, 25,000 these days, 30,000 may not get you what you want, to be honest. And it also depends on the market that you're in. So I think, making sure that you know what you are comfortable spending. You may not know what things cost, but you know what's in your bank account and what you don't want to go over. I always encourage my clients to really plan for your marriage, and the after of the wedding, so you're not stressed about that. But definitely talking to professionals, doing some really good, accurate research based on the guest count that you have, the type of wedding that you want to have, whether it's a buffet, stations, plated formal meal. There's different price points for that stuff. If you want a wedding that has flowers everywhere and things hanging from the ceilings, it's going to cost very differently from some that has minimal decor. So then you want to find a place that may not need as much decor. Right. You find a place that has a lot of character that you just enhance the look of, then maybe you're not spending as much on decor. So there's things to think about, a lot of things for couples to think about in the beginning.
Absolutely. And I mean, in your experience, do you find that couples really understand what planners do? Like, why don't you tell us what do you do? Like, what is planning all about, especially working with someone at your level of experience, not someone who just had their wedding and decided to start wedding planning the next year, but someone with your expertise. Like, what does some of the tasks and how do you help couples and people planning events? What does it look like?
Right. So really from start to finish, a lot of couples, ideally, a couple would contact me before they contact a venue or try to, come up with a date, because sometimes the venue is going to be dependent upon the date. But full service planners like myself typically talk to the client, help them even develop or hone in on what their vision actually is for their day, help them secure a venue, appropriate vendors. We usually have developed relationships over the years with certain vendors, and we kind of know who would be the best fit, budget, style, personality. So we help to narrow that list down so they're not searching forever and looking at endless people. We also help to manage just the stress level, picking out priorities. What needs to be tackled first? What can we wait on? So really everything from beginning to end. We are that liaison between the vendors and the venue and the client. We also help to manage budgets and payments. We also help manage family. That's a whole other thing. You have your family members that are excited about participating and want to help out. And so sometimes we'll talk to parents, we'll talk to other people that are involved in the planning process to help manage the activity.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it can get a little stressful at times, but what would you say separates a smooth event day from like a very chaotic one? Like, what's the difference, would you say?
I would say timelines, staying on top of those, having the vendors that you don't have to really worry about, professionals that know what they're doing. I know that sometimes things happen, and if you have a professional vendor that knows what they're doing, I don't have to worry as much, right?
Right.
I could, out of my peripheral vision, see a centerpiece fall over or an arrangement. This actually happened during a wedding setup for a ceremony. And I was inside doing something, and outside I could see one of the large arrangements fall over. The glass breaks, water everywhere. And I look and I see the florist going over and her team managing everything. And then I go back to what I'm doing. And so someone runs up to me and they say, "Oh my gosh, did you see what just happened?" I said, "Oh yeah." Okay.
But it was taken care of.
It's being taken care of. I trust that vendor enough.
Yes.
If there is an issue, they will come to me. And at that point, I will handle it. But I really, pride myself on helping my clients to feel comfortable enough to know that I will take care of them. I'll advocate for them. I'll be able to make decisions on their behalf. Of course, if I need to go to them and get, permission or inform them of something, I would do that. But that's really a big thing.
Oh, yes.
A good reason to have a good professional planner.
Definitely. I mean, I think a lot of people underestimate what can possibly go wrong, and I've seen it countless amounts of times where, a limo driver isn't on time or doesn't show up at all. And it's like, there's so many things that a professional planner really shields the client from.
Yes.
And allows the client to really enjoy the day without feeling just completely stressed out. And even just leading up to the day with things that can happen. So it's such a benefit. So what happens? So, okay, let's start by saying I do believe that there's something powerful about those relationships that you have with vendors who you've worked with over the years and you just trust your clients will be taken care of with them. So what do you think, in your opinion, from a planner's perspective, makes a photographer great to work with?
For me, it is making sure that we understand each other. So what I'm doing is I'm building a team. And you want to work well as a team because we're all trying to reach the same goal. And that's to satisfy our clients' expectations, exceed our clients' expectations, if you will. Working with a good photographer, or what makes that relationship work, is understanding each other's needs because it's a balance. As you know, it's a balance. On wedding day, timeline is so important. So if makeup is running behind, you're supposed to be getting pre-wedding photos. If that runs behind, like everything else, it's a snowball. It's a snowball effect. Yeah. So it's important to, ahead of time, understand how much time the photographer needs to capture the getting ready photos, all the pre-wedding photos. If they're doing a first look, how much time is needed for that? And then really planning ahead who needs to be in photos after the ceremony, and all of that. So I think that's important. Also, just really knowing from the photographer's perspective what the planner needs, because you're going to have the caterer that's breathing down their neck. Okay, we need to get started.
Right.
We need to start the reception. I'm like, one more. We just need one more shot. One more shot. And so we're really trying to work in tandem, making sure everyone understands what's needed so we can support one another, because I want you to be able to capture what you need for your clients. And I want to make sure that the food still has a great quality and temperature for the guests. Yes. So, it's just making sure that we're all on the same page. It's not just I'm going to work in my bubble and whatever happens. So really.
That is such a good reminder, because I do think, people can get caught up and just want to get 12,000 photos, but the reality is there's still a timeline that we have to abide by.
Yes.
I mean, I say this while I'm teaching all the time, that it's not just a photo shoot, it's actually an event, and there's people waiting. There's timelines, there's food, there's, so you have to balance it somehow.
Right, right. And sometimes I'll even tell my clients, you may get pulled out during the reception just for a few minutes while people are eating to capture a few additional photos. Because you want to have what you want to have. And that's why, even shot lists are important.
Absolutely.
Because we don't miss people that they really want to see photos with. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is so true. And it's all about collaboration. At the end of the day, I think we're not competing with each other. We're not one-upping each other. It's really about working together to make sure the clients get what they want and the families are happy. And so yeah, that's definitely important. So what would you say is the most unexpected thing that's ever happened on a wedding day?
Everybody was on time one time except for the officiant.
Oh my goodness.
So everyone's lined up and we're ready to go, but we need the officiant there. I think misjudged the time. We were in a different time zone.
Oh, right.
And so, and it was just across the border, and I think he had forgotten.
Oh.
And so he was running a little bit behind, so we had to make sure we regrouped and, we kept the guests entertained.
Okay.
Music playing, making sure that they had refreshments because it was outside.
Oh my goodness.
It was an outdoor wedding, so we wanted to make sure that they were all comfortable while we were waiting to get started. Right. Luckily, it wasn't that far behind, but that was a little unexpected because we had gone through the timeline. I talked to him the day before and actually earlier that day to make sure that he was coming and he was on time and understood things. But I think he just misjudged how long it would take to get there.
Okay.
That's just one example. I did have a crasher once.
Are you serious? How do you know?
Crasher. Oh, because he came in and wasn't dressed for the event.
Oh, okay. So that was a clear indication.
Yes, it was a clear indication, but then he proceeds to get on top of, or try to get on top of one of the tables. And so I beelined across the room and he saw me coming and then left. But it's just, weird stuff.
Oh my goodness.
It has happened in the past.
Wow.
So you just never know what may happen, but I'm very solutions oriented.
Yes.
And so sometimes I think it's important, well, not sometimes, all the time. There's always going to be something. You just don't know what it is. You can't dwell on what the issue is. You have to go ahead and think beyond that.
Yes.
How can we correct it? How can we come up with a solution and move on? And that way the event continues. Your clients may not know what is even happening. And so, yeah.
That's the key right there. And, we've been working together and I've just seen you navigate, running behind, and you're just so warm and so graceful and you're not barking at people. You're assertive, but you're not like, it's my way or the highway, you're just a very calming person. And I feel like that's important to have a leader who's like, okay, guys, we need to, let's go, but not in a way that makes people want to cry,
Right. I mean, you have to have
a very warm spirit. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So what would you say couples should prioritize when creating a budget for their event?
So I always recommend that they think about what they would love for their day. What is important to them? For some people, they are foodies. They claim to be foodies, and food is everything. So, is it a food experience? I had, some clients that love food. They love particular restaurants in Atlanta, and they wanted an experience for their guests. So instead of having a traditional plated meal or stations, they decided to do kind of like tapas, where they would have small plates brought out of their favorite foods. So everyone got to try a little bit of their favorite foods. So prioritize things like that. Is it music? Do you want to budget for music and have, a high-end DJ or band? Think about the things that are important to you and then rank them. But photography is one of my big soapbox items. And I always tell my clients, these are your memories. So it's very important to select a photographer that you really love. You love their images, you love their work. Look at a whole gallery of images because, of course, social media and websites, you're going to see the highlights, but look at a whole gallery of images. But do a consultation. Make sure that you enjoy their personality. You think you'll be comfortable with them. So that's one of those items. And I say, I'm going to splurge on your photography.
Well, I tend to agree. I mean, just saying. Yeah. I tell couples all the time, that's like once the music's done and the flowers, wilt and you really have the photos to look back on. So it's great to have the Instagram worthy moments.
Yes.
Of course, we all want those, but having, a beautiful picture with your grandmother or with your parents, and people that you don't get to see all the time because they may live out of state or out of the country.
Right.
It's just, honestly, it's priceless. Yes. I think,
Absolutely.
But of course you have to consider all the other aspects of the day. So you want to find someone who fits the budget. But what do you think couples are stressing about that actually doesn't matter, like in the long run?
I think sometimes they worry about everybody else. Yes, you are hosting a party. You are inviting these people. You are hosting them. Don't forget, this is your event. This is probably the most extravagant party that you will ever host.
Right.
But it's also the celebration of your union. You're showing people who you are. So you want to incorporate those types of things. Of course, you want your attendees, your guests to be comfortable, but really think about what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
That is so good. And I find that too, like even with, taking photos, they want photos with everyone. And I'm like, okay, you can take selfies with everyone. Like, yes, you two need to have a little bit of time just for you two to have some nice portraits. And I've spoken to couples who, they've been married a while and they're like, I wish we took more photos together, just the two of us. Because half of the people, unfortunately, at your wedding, you may not always, carry on those relationships because that's life. People move away and whatnot. But I think it's true. Like you prioritize the two of you as well.
Yes.
In that special day.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's why I love a first look.
Yeah.
I'll throw that in there.
Yeah.
I love a first look because it can be just as dramatic as the time that you walk down the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's just special. It kind of takes the edge off too from the actual ceremony moment, but you have more time. You get photos, you can do private vows, but I love that. But it just gives more time for photos of just the bride and groom.
Absolutely.
So you can get everyone up front, and then after the ceremony, more time, just the bride and groom. So I think that's super important to consider.
Definitely. I love a good first look myself.
Yes.
And I try to tell people that, we'll take photos, but you even just get some time together.
Right.
Just the two of you, where you may not have that at any other point in the day. So why not, take advantage of that? So what about trends? Like, what would you say something that's trendy right now that you feel is, a good thing or maybe not so good? Like, you might be secretly hoping that it goes away a little bit. What are you seeing more common come up now?
Well, for me, I am a traditionalist when it comes to stationery and writing, and I understand why, but a lot of people have gone the digital route when it comes to, save the dates and invitations. But I think that an invitation sets the tone. So I think it's important to have physical invitations. I just love the formality of it. And there's so many options out there, from modern to traditional letterpress. You know, it doesn't have to be super extravagant, but I think having the physical invitation, even if it's just a few, is important to have. In terms of design, I think that I love the trend, the drapery trend. People are doing a lot with drapery. Also, just infusing some very different elements in design, whether it comes to, you know, fruit, vegetables. I had a wedding last April, and instead of doing florals, we did plants and vegetables for the centerpieces. It was a Mediterranean themed reception in terms of food. And so it was sort of family style with, you know, vegetables and fruit being the centerpieces because they wanted to highlight the food. So, you know, really thinking outside the box, really focusing and being intentional about the design that you're bringing into the wedding, things that you really love. And so that's why I was saying it's so important to really think about what's important to the couple, and think of ways to infuse those details.
Wow. I love that. And I think, yeah, being intentional is important because people, instead of following a trend that you saw online and think, oh, it's so cool, let me do that. It's like, but why? Does it relate to your story at all?
Right.
Is it relevant to you as a couple or your family or your culture? I think that's so amazing. And I love that you can kind of guide people to say, like, let's rethink it. Like, maybe this is a good fit or not.
Right.
That's wonderful. And I think it's really important.
It is.
Quite honest with you.
It is.
And what's something couples should absolutely invest in? You talked about stationery, which is like a nice thing to have, but is there something that you would say is like a must-have that every event should have, or
You mean
are
aside
you kind
from
of
a
like
planner? I'm just
right? I know, planner, photographer, must. So yeah, like, what do you think?
I mean, I'll just say this. Food and music typically make or break an event. You know, I love decor and design, but a lot of times if something goes wrong, the first thing people are talking about, oh, that food was horrible, or where did they get that DJ from? You know, so entertainment, super important, and having some good food. So I would say those are two things that I think that people prioritize or should prioritize, but also just the environment, really thinking about the environment that you're in, what it will take to make it look nice. You know, what does it come with? Does it come with anything? Is everything being brought in? So I think that's why it's so important to have a planner to help kind of tell you, okay, this is going to be the best for you because of what it includes, or here's what it's going to look like because we have to bring everything in.
Right. So do you feel like, I find sometimes that couples are booking the venues before booking a planner, and then they realize we have no more money left, or like we're like close to running out on the budget because we spent so much on
the venue.
So, I mean, you know, going back to when is the best time to get a planner, it's like literally at the time you say yes at your proposal.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that, but after you've really talked about what you're comfortable spending. Because again, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
But you do know if you want to spend $100,000, do you want to spend $50,000? Do you want to spend $25,000? Okay. And then how many people are you wanting to have? Right. You know, you may not be able to have everyone that you would love to have.
Right.
But, you know, think about those that you really need to be there, you would want to have there, and then go from there. You know, in terms of the guest list, that's probably the hardest thing for people is the guest list.
Guest list. Oh my goodness, it's hard because you want everyone to be there, but you know it's just not always feasible.
Right.
With the budget.
Right.
Okay. Well, I am definitely. I feel like couples stress over things that, you know, they probably shouldn't. But would you say in your experience that now as we get into 2026 and 2027, that couples are a little bit more educated about like what's important would you say? Like now with TikTok, and like there's just so much information out there.
Yes.
Would you say people are a little bit more educated when they come to you a little bit?
They are. I would say I've had a few brides that came to me with like a whole deck, a design deck of their wedding and what they want. So I feel like there are some brides and grooms that are being very intentional. They know kind of what they would like to have. They just don't know how to achieve it,
Right.
or what vendors to source to get the look that they want or the feel that they want and the vibes. So I would say yes, they are doing a little more research, or at least being more intentional about what they're wanting. Price point wise, I think more research needs to be done. The market is changing. I mean, since 2020, the cost for flowers has completely changed. Shipping, bringing things in, those are the things that we have to consider now. It's just not what it used to be overall, right, in this economy. So I think that's why it's important to really be intentional about what you want and do your research. Think about the market that you're in and look at if you're looking at a budget, this is the average cost of a wedding. Okay, well, how many people did they have?
Right.
Where was this wedding? So looking at those things, you have to compare apples to apples to make sure that it makes sense.
Oh, that's actually a very good point, because it's just like, you need that context, if it's 50 people, then you could do all those things.
Right,
But
right.
250 is a whole different story.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, and some people prefer to have a more intimate ceremony and dinner reception, and then maybe have a big party later on. So it just depends on what you're wanting to do and what makes sense, so that you can be comfortable after the wedding day.
Right. It's not just about the wedding day, it's about the marriage.
It's about the marriage. And, and also not comparing what you want to do to what someone else has done. I mean, there are a lot of friend groups that are getting married, and they don't want to have it at this place because this person had it there. They don't want this color scheme because this person had this color scheme. And I get it, but also really just dive in and really think about what you want. And I think everything will fall into place.
Oh, that is perfect advice. Thank you so much, Jan. Can you tell everyone where they can find you and how they can work with you for their upcoming events? Because you're just so wonderful at what you do.
Thank you, Sam. So you can find me, jhillevents.com. I'm also on Instagram at j.hillevents.com. And on Facebook at jhill events. And then I also have a ebook coming out.
Ooh,
Yes.
tell us more.
It's due to be launched on April 1st, but it's kind of a guide for couples that are newly engaged and looking to start planning their wedding. Just some practical advice, but also, it's not just your general timeline. Here's what you do first. Here's what you do next. But it's also just based on my experience and what I've seen and witnessed with my couples, just a little more information. I just really think it's important, and I tell all of my clients this, when you're hiring a professional, you're using them for their talents, their expertise, their years of dealing with different types of events and wedding professionals. So really lean on them to guide you through this process, and you can focus more on the marriage. And so that's typically what I try to, tell everyone, but I put it in an ebook form along with some good advice on getting started with the wedding planning process. So I'm excited to get that launched next month.
That is so exciting.
Thank you.
We will be sure to share that link in the comment section so people can grab a copy. That is going to be so helpful to so many people who are just starting out, not sure what to do.
Yes.
So that's great that you created that.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, really excited. And so, hopefully they'll take a look at that. And if they'd love to get more hands-on experience or one-on-one, book a consultation and maybe we'll work together.
Wonderful. Well, you heard her. You all need to check that out. And just follow and hit her up if you're planning 2026, or 2027.
27.
I can't say 26 is out yet. We're still
Not quite.
and so we're almost
Little bit
there.
of availability.
Right, exactly. But thank you so much for coming
thank you
and
for
for
having
joining
me.
us. And yeah, I'm gonna see you soon this year.
Yes.
We're working together.
Yes,
this
we are.
year.
Yes, we are.
So that's exciting. Thank you,
you.
Jan.
Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap on this episode of On Set with Samantha. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure you're subscribed. And if you want a behind-the-scenes look at the exact gear I use on set, you can download my free guide, my on-set gear guide, in the show notes or by scanning the QR code. I'll see you next time.